Wake up at 7 in the morning. You don't want to get up. Of course, who would want to after spending yet another night brooding over that relationship that spit you out like a cherry stone? You toss and turn in bed. The sheets smell of too many thoughts and too little sleep. The pillow is the shape of your head, but also of your doubts. You still wonder if it was your fault. Spoiler, no. But that's not the point. The point is that Carl Jung, that guy with the beard and theories straight out of a Gothic novel, discovered something so disturbing, he'd rather keep it to himself. It wasn't about healing the trauma. It was about what happens next, when the empath, the one who feels everything, who absorbs everything, who takes on everything, reaches the final stage. That stage that either destroys you completely or transforms you into something unnamed in psychology textbooks. Something that scares even those who knew you before. If you're still watching, you recognize something. Leave a like now so I know you're there, that you're one of those who walked through the fire. That like is how we recognize each other. Do it now. Jung called him the sovereign empath. Not the healed, not the survivor, sovereign, like a king who has conquered his inner kingdom after a brutal war. But this sovereignty comes at a price, and it's not what you think. It's not paid in tears or therapy sessions. It's paid in solitude, in misunderstanding, in relationships that explode because you've become too lucid, too aware, too unmanageable. Your family looks at you askance. Your friends tell you you've changed. And they're right, you've changed. But they don't understand that you haven't become cold. You've become impervious. There's a difference. So you get out of bed, your feet touch the cold floor. Outside, the city awakens with its usual din of horns, buses, and people rushing toward lives that don't belong to them. You, on the other hand, walk slowly toward the bathroom. You look at yourself in the mirror. Your eyes. Jung said that the eyes of supreme empaths change, that they have a new depth. As if they'd looked into the abyss of human nature, and instead of drowning, learned to swim. You're no longer the person you were 3 years ago. That person who believed that love could heal everything. That giving enough was enough to receive something. That person is dead, and that's okay. Because in their place has been born someone who knows how to say no without feeling guilty. Someone who feels the pain of others but doesn't drown in it. Someone who recognizes manipulation from miles away and smiles because psychological games now seem as transparent as glass. But let's get back to Jung. This guy in 1928 finds himself with a patient. He only calls her M in his notes. A 34-year-old woman who had attracted a series of narcissists like a magnet attracts iron filings. When she comes to Jung, she's psychically dissolved. His words, dissolved, like sugar in water. She could no longer distinguish her emotions from those of others. She'd become a formless, emotional sponge. But Jung observes something extraordinary in the next 2 years. M doesn't simply heal. M transforms, like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, but without all that postcard poetry. More like a lump of coal becoming a diamond under pressure. Jung calls it an alchemical transformation through the integration of the shadow. Big words, but what do they really mean? It means M had to face the part of herself she'd always rejected, the selfish part, the manipulative part, the part that could be cruel. Because the narcissist, that asshole who tore you apart, actually did you an involuntary favor. He forced you to see your dark side. Jung called it the mirror of the shadow. The narcissist reflects back to the empath his own capacity for manipulation, selfishness, and emotional detachment. Things the empath doesn't want to admit he has, but he does. We all have them. The difference is that the sovereign empath recognizes them, integrates them, and uses them consciously instead of projecting them onto others or denying them. M becomes what Jung calls a sovereign empath. She can feel the depths of others' pain without drowning. She can detect deception with supernatural precision. And above all, she has become immune to manipulation while retaining her capacity for genuine compassion. Her family notices the immediate change. Before, she was everyone's emotional caregiver, the one who fixed problems, who absorbed tensions, who acted as a buffer. Now she sets boundaries that feel like reinforced concrete walls. Friends accuse her of becoming cold, different. But Jung understands that M has achieved something he thought was just theory. He saw it in her eyes, those eyes that hold depths never seen before. as if she had looked into the abyss, and instead of being swallowed up, had studied it, cataloged it, understood it. Let's take your case. Maybe you're not M. Maybe you've never heard of Jung before, but you recognize that feeling. That feeling of having changed after that toxic relationship, of having lost something, but also gained something else. Something you can't name. It's like you've developed an uncomfortable superpower. You see people for who they are, not who they pretend to be. You see their defense mechanisms, their projections, their lies, and it isolates you, because no one wants to be with someone who sees through their masks. It's disturbing. It's annoying. It's like having a psychological X-ray. Helpful, but damn lonely. Jung identified 3 deaths that empaths experience during narcissistic abuse. The first death, that of the idealized self-image of a purely good and generous person. You discover that you too can be vindictive, selfish, and cold, and it destroys you, because your entire identity was built on being the good one, the one who helps, the one who understands. The second death, that of the belief that love can heal anyone. You discover that no, you can't save anyone. You can't love hard enough to mend someone who's broken inside, and that breaks your heart. The third death, that of the need for external validation to feel worthy. You discover that no matter how much you give, how much you sacrifice, how much you bend, it will never be enough for certain people. And so you stop looking for external approval. You find it within, or you don't find it at all. These 3 deaths aren't metaphors. They're visceral experiences. You feel them in your body, in your gut, in your chest, as if something inside you were literally decomposing. Jung called it the empathic crucible, a psychological cauldron where you're either completely destroyed or forged into something much more resilient. The key lies in integrating the shadow through forced individuation. Complicated words to say that you must accept that you're also what you've always hated. You must embrace your capacity to be an asshole, to be selfish, to be detached. Not to become a narcissist, but to stop being an easy victim. Jung wrote that the empath must face their own shadow, not through gentle introspection, but through a brutal confrontation with their own capacity for darkness. The narcissist unconsciously becomes the catalyst for this essential psychological work. Beautiful. It's a shame that while you do it, you feel like your skin is being ripped off in strips. But when you reach the other side, something has changed. You've developed what Jung called integrated empathy, the ability to feel without adjusting, to understand without taking responsibility, to love without losing yourself. It's not emotional numbness, it's emotional mastery. Like the difference between being swept away by a river and knowing how to swim in it. The neurological changes Jung observed were profound. These empaths retained their sensitivity, but gained what he called conscious filtering ability. They could perceive everything, but choose what to process. It was like having a volume control on their emotional perception that could be turned up or down at will. Jung noted that this was similar to advanced meditation masters, but achieved through trauma rather than spiritual practice, less zen and more survivalist. But equally effective. But there's a dark side to all this, and Jung documents it with frightening precision. Empaths who reach this final stage often become isolated, not by choice, but by necessity. The transformation that makes them psychologically powerful also makes them fundamentally incompatible with unconscious people. Jung documented that these evolved empaths could no longer tolerate what he called psychological unconsciousness in others. They instantly detected when someone was operating from ego projection or manipulation. This created what Jung called the consciousness gap, an unbridgeable chasm between those who had integrated their shadow and those who remained unconscious of it. Jung's patient M described the phenomenon this way: "It's as if I can see the psychological machinery of everyone around me. Their defenses, their projections, their hidden motivations. It's all transparent now. But this clarity has cost me almost every relationship I've ever had." Jung understands this as the hidden danger of empathic evolution. These individuals had developed what he called archetypal vision, the ability to see beyond the masks and into the deeper psychological patterns that guide human behavior. This made them incredibly powerful healers and guides, but it also made ordinary social interaction nearly impossible. Jung wrote, "They have eaten from the tree of psychological knowledge, and like Adam and Eve, they can no longer return to the garden of unconscious innocence." This sentence strikes you because it's true. Once you see, you can't unsee. Once you understand how defense mechanisms, projections, and manipulations work, you can't pretend you don't know. It's like watching a movie after reading the script. You already know what's going to happen. You know why that character says that line. You know what wound they're trying to hide. And that makes everything less spontaneous, less light, less easy. The most disturbing aspect was that many people instinctively feared these advanced empaths. Jung noted that others could sense, even subconsciously, that these individuals could see through their psychological defenses. No one wants to be with someone who can read you like an open book. It's uncomfortable. It's vulnerable. It's terrifying. So people distance themselves. They make excuses. They say you've changed, that you're no longer yourself. And they're right. You're not. You're something more complex, more nuanced, more real. But the truth is scary. Jung also studied what he called the collateral gifts of empathic sovereignty. These abilities emerged after integration. A woman who had survived psychological manipulation by colleagues had developed unprecedented diagnostic skills as a physician. Another individual had developed an almost prescient intuition about human behavior patterns. The common thread Jung identified was their ability to see abuse as initiation rather than victimization. They understood their experience as preparation for a greater purpose rather than casual cruelty. But Jung also studied the pattern of failure, gifted empaths who didn't integrate. He noted that they typically fell into one of two traps. Either they remained identified as victims, using their trauma as their primary identity, or they became what Jung called wounded herders. They used their psychological insights to manipulate and control others. Jung wrote, "The difference between the sovereign empath and the destroyed empath is not the severity of the trauma, but the willingness to turn poison into medicine." The pattern of failure always involved what Jung called shadow denial, the refusal to acknowledge one's own capacity for the very behaviors that had hurt them. We're coming to a crucial point. Sovereign empaths needed completely different types of relationships than typical empaths. Jung developed what he called the theory of consciousness compatibility to help them find authentic connections. Recognizable signs, other evolved empaths could be recognized by their ability to discuss psychology without becoming defensive, by their comfort with paradox and contradiction, by their lack of need to be right or superior, and by what Jung called archetypal humor, the ability to find levity in the darkest human patterns, a kind of humor that was dark but not cynical, aware but not cruel. Jung's characteristics of secure relationships included mutual respect for psychological boundaries, comfortable silence without the need to fill the space with small talk, the ability to discuss shadow aspects without judgment, and what Jung called conscious intimacy, connection based on authentic self-disclosure rather than projection. No masks, no games, just two people who truly see and accept each other, even the uncomfortable parts. Community building strategies. Jung recommended that sovereign empaths seek out others who had undergone similar transformative experiences, not necessarily narcissistic abuse, but any experience that forced rapid psychological evolution. He noted that trauma survivors, spiritual seekers who had confronted their shadow, and individuals who had survived major life transitions often made compatible companions. Jung cautioned against attempting to maintain relationships with unconscious individuals out of guilt or obligation. A butterfly cannot pretend it's still a caterpillar, he wrote. Attempting to do so serves no one and dishonors transformation. He also recommended what he called archetypal service, using one's evolved empathic abilities to serve the collective unconscious through teaching, healing, creation, or simply shaping integrated consciousness. These people weren't meant to live ordinary lives. They were meant to be bridges, to be guides, to be healers, not because they were better, but because they had seen deeper things and lived to tell the tale. Jung documented that the transformation from wounded empath to sovereign empath follows what he called 5 metamorphoses. Each is marked by specific psychological changes and challenges. Metamorphosis 1, dissolution. This occurs during active abuse when the empath's previous identity completely breaks down. Jung noted that this feels like psychological death, but is actually a dissolution of the ego, preparing for rebirth. The empath experiences what Jung called blessed disintegration, the destruction of false concepts of self. It's like when you drop a vase. You can't put it back exactly as it was, but you can use the pieces to make a mosaic, something new, different, perhaps even more beautiful. Metamorphosis 2, the post-abuse descent. The empath enters what Jung called a voluntary journey into the underworld. They must confront their own shadow, acknowledge their participation in the dynamic, confront their deepest fears about their own worth and lovability. Jung noted that this phase often involves what appears to be depression, but is actually psychological composting. You're decomposing old structures to nourish new ones. It's disgusting, it's painful, it's necessary, like manure fertilizing the soil. Metamorphosis 3, integration. The empath begins to consciously choose which aspects of their shadow to embrace and which to transform. Jung called this selective incorporation of the shadow. They develop the ability to feel their anger without becoming cruel, to acknowledge their selfishness without becoming narcissistic, to own their power without becoming manipulative. It's a delicate balance, like walking a tightrope, but over time it becomes natural. It becomes who you are. Metamorphosis 4, emergence. Empathic abilities return, but in a refined form. Jung documented that empaths at this stage could sense others' emotions but weren't driven to fix them. They could detect manipulation but responded with compassion rather than anger. They could love deeply without losing their center. It's like having an emotional thermostat instead of being at the mercy of others' emotional climate. You can walk into a room filled with tension and not absorb it. You can be with someone suffering without making their pain your own. You can love without drowning. Metamorphosis 5, sovereignty. The final stage Jung observed was the development of what he called archetypal consciousness. This was the ability to see beyond individual psychology to the larger patterns that govern human behavior. These empaths had become what Jung called conscious bridges between the personal and transpersonal realms. They could operate on multiple levels simultaneously. They saw the person before them, but also the archetypal pattern that person embodied. They saw the individual's history, but also the collective history of humanity, repeating itself through that person. Jung noted that each metamorphosis typically took 6 to 18 months, with the entire process requiring 3 to 7 years of conscious work. However, he emphasized that the time frame varied greatly based on the individual's willingness to confront their shadow and their commitment to integration rather than just healing. It wasn't about putting on band-aids, it was about rebuilding from the foundations, and that takes time, patience, self-compassion. Jung identified several specific traps that could derail empaths during their transformation. He warned that avoiding these pitfalls was crucial to achieving true sovereignty. The trap of spiritual superiority. Jung warned that some empaths, after glimpsing their evolved abilities, became what he called spiritually grandiose. They believed that their trauma made them more enlightened than others. True sovereignty includes profound humility, Jung wrote. The moment you believe you're beyond the shadow, you're possessed by it. It's easy to fall into this trap. You've done hard work, you've been through hell. You want to believe it means something, that it makes you special. But ego infiltrates spirituality too. Even psychological evolution. Remaining humble while growing is the true art. The trap of perpetual healing. Some empaths became addicted to transformation itself, constantly seeking new ways of healing instead of supplementing their own gains. Jung called this therapeutic materialism, treating healing as consumption rather than embodiment. It's like collecting diplomas from personal development courses but never applying anything you've learned. Healing must become a lived experience, not an eternal project. The trap of dependent isolation. While some isolation was necessary for integration, Jung warned against using psychological evolution as an excuse to avoid all human connection. The sovereign empath serves consciousness through engagement, not withdrawal. It's true that you need space, that certain people drain you, but you can't use your evolution as armor against the world. You must find a way to be in the world without being corrupted by it. Difficult, but necessary. The revenge trap. Jung observed that some empaths used their evolved psychological insights to subtly manipulate or punish those who had hurt them. True integration transforms the desire for revenge into compassion for the unconscious, he wrote. It's so tempting to use what you've learned as a weapon. You see people's weaknesses, you know how to hit them where it hurts. But if you do that, you're back where you started. You've become what you hated. True sovereignty means having the power to hurt, but choosing not to. A maintenance practice Jung recommended was what he called daily shadow check-ins. Regularly examining your motivations, projections, and emotional reactions to ensure you remain aware of your psychological processes. It's like brushing your teeth, but for your psyche. A daily mental hygiene routine that prevents the accumulation of unconsciousness. Jung's final insight into sovereign empaths was perhaps his most profound. He believed they represented an evolutionary leap in human consciousness essential to humanity's psychological development. The sovereign empath, Jung wrote, has become what I believe represents the next stage of human evolution. Individuals capable of feeling the full spectrum of human experience while remaining grounded in their own truth. They are the bridge between ego consciousness and self-realization. Jung believed that as humanity faced increasing psychological complexity, these evolved empaths would serve as midwives of consciousness, helping others navigate their own shadow integration and empathic development. He saw them as essential to healing the collective trauma humanity endures. Their suffering was not personal, Jung concluded, but archetypal. They endured the collective human experience of abuse and emerged with the medicine our species needs for its next evolutionary step. The empath who survives narcissistic abuse and reaches Jung's final stage has gone through what he called definitive individuation, becoming fully oneself, while simultaneously serving something greater than oneself. You are no longer just yourself. You are also a symbol, a living archetype, a bridge between what we were as a species and what we could become. Jung's most dangerous discovery revealed that the deepest wounds, when properly integrated, become humanity's greatest gifts. The sovereign empath stands as proof that consciousness can emerge from catastrophe, that wisdom can be forged from suffering, and that the very experiences that seem designed to destroy us may actually be designed to transform us. As Jung wrote in his final notes on this phenomenon, the narcissist unwittingly serves as the dark priest of the empath's initiation. Through their cruelty, they forge the very consciousness that will ultimately heal what they represent. Your journey through narcissistic abuse, if you allow it, can become your initiation into sovereign empathy. Not despite your suffering, but because of it. So here you are. You've read all of this. Maybe you recognize yourself in some parts, maybe in many. Maybe you're still in the dissolution phase, and all of this seems like distant theory. Or maybe you're already on the other side and you're nodding along as you read, because finally someone has put into words what you've experienced. Your transformation serves more than just your own healing. It serves the evolution of humanity. Every time you choose awareness over unconsciousness, you are raising the level of collective consciousness. Every time you integrate your shadow instead of casting it, you are doing work that benefits everyone. Every time you love without losing yourself, you are shaping a new form of relationship that others can learn from. You're not broken. You're under construction. You're not overly sensitive. You're a finely tuned instrument that's gone through a brutal calibration process. You're not alone, even if you feel isolated. There are others out there who see what you see, who feel what you feel, who understand what you've been through. And when you meet, even without words, you recognize each other. It's in your eyes, that depth Jung described. That's something that says, I saw the abyss and chose not to jump. Your sovereignty is not selfishness. It is sacred self-preservation. Your borders are not walls, they are bridges. You choose when to cross and when to keep your distance. Your ability to see through people is not cynicism, it is clarity. And that clarity, used with compassion rather than judgment, is your gift to the world. Don't waste it trying to go back to who you were. You can't. That person is gone. Embrace who you have become, with all its paradoxes, with all its complexity, with all its uncomfortable beauty. Jung was right. This is the most dangerous discovery, because it changes everything. It changes how you see yourself, how you see others, how you see your past. Your suffering was not in vain. It was the crucible that forged you. And what you became in the fire is exactly what the world needs. Even if the world doesn't know it yet, even if it regards you with suspicion or fear, even if you have to walk alone for a while, you are becoming sovereign. And this process, however lonely, however difficult, however misunderstood, is the most courageous thing you can do, not just for you, but for all of us. Because when one of us awakens, it makes it easier for others to awaken. When one of us integrates, it shows that it is possible. When one of us becomes sovereign, it opens a path for others to follow. Your transformation is your service. Your awakening is your contribution. Your sovereignty is your legacy. And never forget that you came here through something that could have destroyed you, but it didn't. You're still here, stronger, wiser, more yourself than you've ever been. And that, more than anything, is what Jung meant when he spoke of sovereign empathy. Not perfection, not invulnerability, but the total integration of light and shadow into a fully present, fully aware, fully alive human being. Welcome to the final stage. It's lonely, but it's powerful. It's misunderstood, but it's true. It's your initiation into the next level of consciousness. And humanity needs you exactly as you've become. If you've made it this far, leave a like. Tell me in the comments, I'm becoming sovereign. That way I know you're there. This way, we can create a community of those who have looked into the abyss and chosen not to jump. Subscribe to the channel if you want to continue this journey. Here we go deeper, where it hurts, but also where true transformation lies. You're not broken. You're under construction. See you in the next dimension.